The Weaver and the Blind Beggar. In the ancient kingdom of Frambianco, under a sun that baked the earth to terracotta, lived a king named Igwe Ignatius. His rule was just, his heart was generous, and his people loved him as their own father. His greatest joy was his daughter, Adise, the only surviving child of his two beloved wives. She was the light of his compound, a girl with a laugh that sounded like rain on dry leaves. But shadows dwell where light is brightest. Ignatius's three younger brothers, Erastus, Ugo, and Chidi, were consumed by a venomous envy. They saw not their brother's kindness, but only his crown, not the people's love, but only the royal treasury's gold. One bitter night, they conspired. A feast was held, and a poisoned chalice was passed. Igwe Ignatius and his two queens drank deeply, and before the moon reached its zenith, they breathed their last. As was the custom, the kingship passed to the immediate younger brother. Erastus, now Igwe Erastus, sat upon the leopard-skin throne, his heart as cold as the stone it was carved from. But his victory felt hollow. For in the corner of the royal compound, the true heir, the young Princess Adise, lived on, a silent, living challenge to his stolen title. "We must ensure no seed of Ignatius ever sprouts to contest our right," Erastus hissed to his brothers. But they could not simply kill a child, a princess loved by the people. Instead, they devised a curse disguised as a marriage. They found the most wretched soul in all of Frambianco. Chuku, a blind beggar who slept by the trash heaps, his world an endless, silent dark. "A princess cannot claim a throne if she is bound to a man of the dirt," Erastus declared. "She will be swallowed by his poverty, her name forgotten." And so, at the tender age of 12, Adise was betrothed to the blind beggar. The marriage rites were a cruel mockery, performed in haste. The people wept as their little princess, draped in a simple cloth, was led away from the palace to a small, crumbling hut. The uncles smiled, their throne secure. Adise, though her heart was broken, was her father's daughter. She did not weep for long. She cleaned the hut. She learned to find food in the market with the few coins Chuku's begging earned. She became his eyes, describing the world to him, the color of the sky, the shape of the clouds, the smile of a passing child. Chuku, though blind and poor, had a spirit of gentle wisdom. He spoke to her of patience, of listening to the world beyond sight. In their shared hardship, a deep, quiet affection grew. And something else grew, too. A power. Adise began to have visions. She would touch a sick neighbor's child and know which herb would bring a fever down. She would dream of rain, and the next day, the clouds would gather. The people, who had pitied her, now sought her out in secret. The mighty and the lowly came to her hut, not to see a fallen princess, but to beg wisdom from the one they called the Little Seer. Her spiritual sight became renowned, far and wide. 5 years passed. One morning, as the first light of dawn painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, Adise was preparing a paste of herbs. Chuku stirred from his mat. "Adise," he whispered, his voice rough with sleep, and yet, different. "The light, it is not just warmth today. It has a color. It is orange." Adise turned, her heart stopping. She looked into his eyes. They were no longer clouded and milky. They were clear, and deep brown, and they were looking directly at her, seeing her for the very first time. Tears welled in those new eyes. "You are even more beautiful than your voice," he said. The village was, indeed, agog. It was a miracle. The blind beggar could see. The news flew on the wings of hawks to the palace. Igwe Erastus and his brothers heard it and trembled. A miracle for the husband was a spotlight on the wife. The forgotten princess was forgotten no more. Erastus knew the contest for power had begun. He sent his guards to bring the couple to the palace, intending to intimidate them, to remind them of their place. As Adise and Chuku, now standing tall and proud, entered the throne room, the court fell silent. Erastus sneered from his throne. "So, the beggar sees. A lucky trick of the gods. But do not let it fill your heads with ideas above your station. You are still nothing." But Adise stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. "We are what we have always been, uncle. The beloved of the people." Just then, a commotion came from the doorway. A mighty warrior from a neighboring kingdom, a man who had once sought Adese's vision to find his stolen son, marched in. He bowed not to the king, but to Adise. "Seer," he said, "my loyalty is to you. My men are at the gates. The people call for you. They remember Igwe Ignatius. They demand his true heir." Erastus shot up, drawing a dagger. "I will not be undone by a girl."